In October of 2003, Michael Murray woke up to what appeared to be just another ordinary morning, one of those quiet weekdays that blend together over the years without leaving any strong memory behind. The alarm clock rang at the same time it always did, and Michael followed the same routine he had repeated almost mechanically for more than a decade. He got out of bed, walked to the kitchen, prepared a cup of black coffee, and stood by the window for a few seconds, watching the street slowly come to life. There was nothing unusual in his behavior, nothing that suggested he was about to disappear in a way that would haunt his family and confuse investigators for years to come. Michael Murray was 37 years old at the time, a husband, a father of 2 children, and an accountant known by colleagues as quiet, reliable, and cautious. He was not impulsive, not adventurous, and not prone to sudden decisions. His life was built around structure, responsibility, and predictability. He worked the same job, drove the same route, and rarely deviated from his routine. Friends and family would later emphasize this point again and again because it made what happened next almost impossible to understand. That morning, Michael left his house at approximately 7:12 a.m. His wife watched him grab his keys, kiss the children goodbye, and walk out the door. Nothing in his expression suggested stress or fear. He did not leave a note. He did not make a phone call. He did not act like a man planning to disappear. He simply got into his car and drove away. Traffic cameras later confirmed that Michael entered the highway leading toward his workplace, just as he had done hundreds of times before. For the first part of his drive, everything appeared completely normal. Then, somewhere along the way, something changed. About 25 minutes later, Michael's car was found parked on the side of a rural road, far from his usual route. The engine was off, the doors were unlocked, and the vehicle showed no signs of damage. Inside the car, police found his wallet, his identification, his credit cards, and his mobile phone placed neatly on the passenger seat. There were no signs of a struggle, no broken glass, no blood, no indication that anyone had forced him out of the vehicle. It was as if Michael had willingly stepped out of the car and vanished into thin air. This detail would become one of the most disturbing aspects of the case, because it offered no clear direction for investigators to follow. Police arrived quickly and secured the area. Officers searched the surrounding fields, walked through nearby woods, and checked abandoned buildings within miles of the location. Police dogs were brought in to track Michael's scent. The dogs followed the trail from the car for a short distance before stopping abruptly, as if the scent had suddenly disappeared. Experienced handlers found this deeply unsettling, as it suggested that Michael had either been picked up by another vehicle or that something had interrupted the trail in an unusual way. As the investigation progressed, theories began to emerge. Some investigators considered the possibility that Michael had staged his own disappearance, but this idea quickly ran into problems. His bank accounts remained untouched. His credit cards were never used. His passport was still at home. He had made no unusual financial transactions and had not withdrawn large amounts of cash. Everything about his life suggested stability rather than escape. Suicide was also considered, but again, there was no evidence to support it. No body was found. No note was left behind. The area around the car was thoroughly searched, including nearby rivers and forests, but nothing was discovered. Kidnapping was another possibility, yet there were no witnesses, no ransom demands, and no indication of violence. Michael seemed to have vanished without leaving behind even the smallest clue. Weeks passed, and the search expanded. Volunteers joined law enforcement officers, hoping to find something, anything, that could explain where Michael had gone. Helicopters scanned large areas of land. Rivers were searched repeatedly. Missing person posters were distributed across multiple counties. Each effort ended the same way, with no answers and no progress. As months turned into years, the case slowly faded from public attention, but for Michael's family, the uncertainty never faded. His wife lived in a state of emotional suspension, unable to grieve because there was no confirmation of death, and unable to hope because there were no signs of life. His children grew older, their memories of their father slowly becoming less vivid with time. Birthdays, holidays, and school events passed without him, each one reinforcing the painful absence of a man who had once been so present. Eventually, Michael Murray was officially listed as missing and presumed dead. The investigation was reduced to a cold case file, reviewed only occasionally when someone noticed a detail that still did not make sense. Many investigators believed that the truth would never be known, and that Michael's disappearance would remain one of those mysteries that quietly linger without resolution. Then, nearly 6 years later, something happened that no one expected. In March of 2009, police in another state received a call late at night about a man wandering near a bus station. Witnesses reported that he appeared confused, exhausted, and disoriented. He did not seem intoxicated, but he struggled to answer simple questions. When officers arrived, they found a man who looked older than his age, thinner than expected, and visibly anxious. He had no identification on him and could not explain how he had arrived there. When asked basic questions, the man seemed unsure. He did not know the date. He did not know the city he was in. He could not explain where he had been living. But when officers asked his name, he hesitated for a moment before quietly saying, "Michael Murray." At first, police assumed it was a coincidence or possibly a false identity, but fingerprints confirmed the truth. The man standing in front of them was indeed Michael Murray, the same man who had disappeared without a trace nearly 6 years earlier. News of his discovery spread quickly, reigniting interest in a case many believed would never be solved. Michael was taken to a hospital for evaluation. Doctors noted that he was malnourished, but showed no clear signs of long-term physical confinement. There were scars on his body that his family could not explain, marks that did not match any known injuries from his past. His posture, speech, and mannerisms seemed slightly different, as if years of experiences had shaped him in ways that were impossible to fully understand. When reunited with his family, the moment was emotional but deeply unsettling. Michael recognized his wife and children, but his reactions felt distant, as if he were responding more to recognition than to memory. He claimed that he had no recollection of the 6 years he had been missing. According to him, there was no memory of captivity, no memory of traveling, and no memory of escape. He described the missing years as a blank space, as if his life had simply stopped and then restarted. Doctors diagnosed Michael with severe dissociative amnesia, a condition often associated with extreme psychological trauma. While the diagnosis explained some aspects of his behavior, it did not answer the most important question: where had he been and what had happened to him during those missing years. Investigators attempted to question Michael, hoping that small details might trigger memories or lead to new evidence. Instead, Michael became increasingly anxious whenever the topic was raised. Eventually, he refused to speak about his disappearance altogether. The investigation was quietly reopened, but it led nowhere. No witnesses came forward. No new evidence emerged. No locations could be confirmed. Every attempt to reconstruct Michael's missing years ended in speculation rather than fact. Over time, the case once again faded from public attention, leaving behind more questions than answers. To this day, no one knows where Michael Murray was during those 6 years. Some believe he suffered a PI psychological break and lived under a different identity, unaware of his past. Others believe he was held against his will and survived an experience so traumatic that his mind erased it entirely. There are even those who believe the truth is something far stranger, something that does not fit neatly into any medical or criminal explanation. Michael Murray survived his disappearance, but the truth about what happened to him did not. His story remains a reminder that some mysteries resist closure, and that sometimes, even when a missing person is found alive, the most important questions remain unanswered.